All right. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hi there.
How are you doing today? Happy New Year.
Oh, same to you. I hope this is a great year for us, but for everybody as well.
How come you got a feather boa back there?
Well, I dance burlesque, so I've got my little feather boa back here because it makes me happy.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Yeah.
I did notice that on your bio, and it was one of your talking point questions. So since you brought it up, I'll just bring it up. What is burlesque exactly?
Burlesque is an art form. If you think about like the vaudeville era, burlesque is actually a parody, and it makes fun of pokes fun of the status quo. It makes fun of a lot of the hypocrisies that we all have as humans. And it's an art form of conceal and reveal. And the reason that femininity is used in burlesque is because it kind of makes fun of the idea that women should never be naked if they're smart or if they're mothers or if they're quality worthy women, but if they are, and at the same time they should also all be like a size 2. They should be about 20, have no crow's feet, a thigh gap, and look a certain way. And there's so much around body shame, looking a certain way. And burlesque really pokes fun of the way that we strive to be a certain way when we really know that is not realistic at all.
I know that recently, in the last 30 or 40 years, that women have taken a much stronger position in the workplace. And there are many, many women working. In fact, I saw one statistic that said more women graduate with a college degree in the United States than men do now.
Yes.
But is there still, so the argument that I'm trying to make is that on the one hand, women have achieved tremendous equality in opportunity. But is there still the standard that women are held to higher than men in terms of their physical appearance and hair and makeup and clothes, where you kind of alluded to that just a little bit? Men basically in a business environment put on a suit and a tie and they're good to go, right? But women
Yes.
have a lot more to do, I think, than that. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I was a corporate attorney I practiced for 10 years. I'm licensed in Colorado and California. My first time in court, I won. It was a case that I shouldn't have won, and I absolutely outlawyered my opposing counsel. Since it was my first case, since I was a brand new student attorney, I expected that the judge might say something to me. He might say, "You're new on the scene. Great job. That was impressive." He bangs his gavel at the end of the case and he says, "I want to see you in my chambers now." So I'm thinking, ooh, accolades. He's going to notice me. I wonder why he sounds so aggressive. He called me into his chambers, and instead of saying, "Good job winning a case, amazing use of your intellect, you have a great ability to research and to argue," he said, "If I were you, I would wear my hair up. You'll be taken way more seriously if you wear your hair up than if you have your hair down." And then he proceeded to say, "I would also advise you to wear pants because you have really nice legs, and showing your legs is going to be distracting."
Wow.
Yes. And I mean, this is not in the 50s, this is the 90s. So it's a weird standard because women are supposed to be attractive, but not too attractive to be sexy. They're supposed to be smart and into business and to speak their mind, but not too much, or they become too aggressive. There's a narrow range of acceptability for men and for women in different regards, but women at work have a very narrow range of acceptability.
And I think that because I don't want to say male dominated society. Do you believe that it is in the United States?
I don't believe it's male dominated, but I believe so many women in how to phrase this, in an attempt to be successful in what has historically been a man's world, have turned themselves into men. And I don't mean that we've become men, but we have adopted a lot of those masculine behaviors.
Okay.
We pitch our voices down. We wear suits. We lean more into the competitive nature instead of to the conciliatory nature. We have become masculine in order to compete in a masculine world. And I think a lot of men as well have become more masculine, which is where some of the toxic masculinity comes in order to compete and to be what they think that they should. So if we were all just more comfortable revealing ourselves as we were, not as we think that we should be, I do believe we would have a softer, kinder, more conciliatory society where we get more done, where we have more satisfaction, where there is more innovation because we are free to be who we are instead of living with this belief that I have to focus on this, I have to focus on that, I have to say this. It's the bottom line. It's this masculinized view of how things should be.
There are some very conceited men out there.
Oh, yes.
They don't get treated in the same manner, though, as women who do that, do they?
No, they don't. I I'm big into stereotypes. There are a lot of stereotypes, and it's human nature to judge and to stereotype. It is in our best interest, honestly, to stereotype and sort and judge and classify. It makes our lives easier. And it's ridiculous to pretend that we couldn't. However, there are not a lot of positive, holistic female stereotypes, nor are there a lot of the positive, holistic masculine stereotypes. We have the stereotypical narcissist. We have, the cutthroat witch who will step over everybody to get what she wants. We have got the doormat. We have got all of these stereotypes, but we don't have a stereotypical woman who is intelligent, who owns her sexuality, who is kind and compassionate, who is spiritual. We don't have stereotypes that really reflect all that we truly are. We all have nurturing sides. We all have competitive sides. We all have spiritual sides. We are such vast creatures, yet we are limited because we don't have that stereotype that lets us know it's okay to be all that you are. It's okay to cry if you feel emotion. It's okay to feel that anger or to express that anger. It's okay to not know. It's okay to be wrong. We don't have stereotypes that reinforce who we really are as a human at our most basic human level. And we don't know what we like. We are vulnerable. We change. And it's really a shame for men and for women alike to be limited by how we think we are supposed to be.
Well, that's very true. Let's talk about your book a little bit. Your book is called Flaunt. Is this your first book, or how many books have you written?
This is my first traditionally published book. When I was in law school, I also wrote The Rights and Responsibilities of Teenage Parents, but that was done through the university's press. This is my first traditionally published book.
Give us a synopsis if you can. What is it about?
Absolutely. It's about all of this that we've been talking about. It's about how I use the concept of burlesque to strip out of your labels, your rules, and your scripts, and to reveal yourself as you are, not as you think that you should be. Labels. Labels are things that we either label ourselves or that other people have labeled us. When I was growing up, was told girls aren't good at math. Girls are good at language. I don't know if I'm not good at math to this day because I was labeled and told that, or if it's because I'm not good at math. But my book is about identifying those labels that people labeled us and stripping out of them. Same thing with roles. I am a mother. I am a mother of two. There were so many times in my life where the idea of I can't do that, I'm a mom, would play in my head. That's me living out somebody else's role of what a mother should do and how a mother should be. My children were very unique. My role as their mother shouldn't be the Leave It to Beaver standard of motherhood. It should be me responding and reacting to my actual children's needs. Similarly, a script is the idea or the belief that our life should be a certain way. I should have a job at this age. I should have a retirement. I should have a relationship. I should be in a better shape. The script is that idea of how our life should be. And think about 2020 with the whole coronavirus. We all had this belief about what our life should be in 2020, and it wasn't. Not one of us probably lived out what we thought we were going to live out in 2020. And my book talks about, the assertion that oftentimes the reason that we're in pain, the reason that we're dissatisfied, the reason that we're uncomfortable is because we're not living what is. We're living what we think we should be living, and we're fighting. And that's really what my book is about, recognizing and releasing those labels, those roles, those scripts, those ideas, revealing what is, whether it's the life around us or who we are inside, and then re-choreographing our lives, our experiencing, so we can be in the now, so we can plan for the future, and so ultimately we can experience joy, satisfaction, and an enthusiasm for life. Because there's nothing worse than dreading life, than getting up and being like, ugh, another day that I have to do this. So really my book is about shedding all of that, stripping out of all of that, being who you are and living life full out on your own terms.
What do you think about the gender identity issues that have been popping up on the
Isn't
news
it
lately?
interesting?
Gender non-specific, and it is very interesting, but it makes it seem like it's wrong for someone to embrace their particular gender identity. You brought up toxic masculinity, women who are traditionally feminine, who, let's say, for example, want to not work, stay home, raise the children, sometimes get scrutinized by people who said that they're taking on a subservient role. How do you feel about all of that? How do you feel about somebody who wants to embrace their biological gender?
I think it's the same as with anything. Once we know, I always talk about we have to know ourselves and show ourselves. If you know who you are and what you want, it's much easier to break out of that judgment, to not even care about what people might say about you. Judgment doesn't have, when somebody judges you, it doesn't mean anything about you. It means everything about the person judging you. I stayed home and raised my kids for many years. And was I judged? Probably. Do I care? No, because I was very clear about who I was and what I wanted. So if I want to embrace my femininity, as long as I'm clear that I'm doing it because that's who I am inside, I honestly think it's irrelevant what other people say or do or think. Similarly, if somebody wants, let me go back. FLAUNT is an acronym, and that's the title of my book. FLAUNT, drop your cover and reveal your smart, sexy, and spiritual self. And the T in FLAUNT means trust in your truth. Because the bottom line is nobody knows how anybody except themselves feel. I can tell you I'm in love with my kids. I'm in love with my spouse. I can tell you this doesn't feel right to me, but you don't know how I feel. I can never fully explain to you how I feel. And it's not up to me to get validation from anybody else about how I feel and whether the way that I feel is right or wrong. I have got my truth, and the strongest thing I can do is trust that truth. And that's what a lot of my work is really about, is identifying your truth and trusting in it. So your judgment of me, and I'm saying this collectively, not personally, but your judgment of me is irrelevant when I know my truth and I trust it.
That is absolutely the takeaway for this. You have to trust yourself and don't be too concerned with what other people's opinions. I think other people's opinions have held many people down, both
Yes.
men, women, young, old, you know, it's always been the case. And you have to push through with your own identity,
Yeah.
regardless of what they tell you. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
We do have to wrap this up. Unfortunately, our time has just kind of blown by. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. My website is Lora, Lora Cheadle, CHEADLE.com. So yeah, LoraCheadle.com, all of my information, my book, my coaching programs, a lot of fun information.
Super. Thanks so much for coming on, Laura. This was nice meeting you and nice seeing your feather boa. I always get a kick out of that.